Alrighty, we are live streaming. Fantastic. We're live streaming on YouTube, we're live streaming on social media, and we're here in the Zoom room. If you've just joined us, please type in where you're watching us from today. As you do that, we're going to put a quick timer on, and that's your opportunity to check if your guests are here with you. Excellent. So welcome online, ladies and gentlemen. If you've just joined us, type in the chat where you're watching us from in the Zoom room. We are online live right now on YouTube and also on social media. And in case you don't speak fluent English, that's okay. Have a quick listen to this.
Por favor, vaya a la parte inferior de la pantalla en Zoom o YouTube y haga clic en subtítulos para leer en español.
Kérlek menjünk képernyő aljára, a Zoomon vagy a YouTube-on, a Closed Caption részre, és ott el tudod olvasni magyarul a feliratot.
Silakan klik di layar bawah pada Zoom atau YouTube dan klik caption untuk membaca dalam bahasa Indonesia.
Pour les sous-titres en français, veuillez cliquer au bas de votre écran Zoom ou YouTube sur CC ou Closed Captions.
Zoom または YouTube の画面の下部に移動し、字幕をクリックして日本語で読んでください。
请到屏幕底部點閱隱藏字幕以閱讀中文.
Παρακαλώ πηγαίνετε στο κάτω μέρος της οθόνης, στο Zoom ή στο YouTube και κάντε κλικ στους υπότιτλους για να τα διαβάσετε στα ελληνικά.
請到屏幕底部點擊隱藏字幕以閱讀中文.
אנא עברו לתחתית המסך בזום וביוטיוב ולחצו על תרגום לכתוביות בעברית.
Proszę zejść na dół ekranu na Zoomie lub YouTubie i kliknąć napisy, żeby przeczytać po polsku.
Beautiful. I reckon I could rehearse that word for word. I've heard it that many times. I'm just changing my language to English. Here we go. So that your closed captions will work perfectly. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome online. We've got people online from Indonesia, from Canada, from Mexico, from America, people on from Australia, all over the place. So you're very blessed today. My name is Michael Firth. I'm one of the founding Field Advisory Board members in Crowns with Neumi. And I was here way before the company started. And I know this beautiful gentleman you're about to hear from, who's been a friend for about 18 years now. So just to put you in perspective, Steve, if you don't know our founder, Steve Scott, Steve was behind the Total Gym with billions in sales. I met him when he was pioneering the research space in glutathione, which you're going to hear a bit about today. And he went into retirement, then had this discovery and said, I'm out again. So in his mid-70s came out of retirement. So you're here to hear from Steve Scott today. So with that, I'll hand the call to Steve.
Well, hello, everybody. It's so nice to see so many friends, and hopefully we have some new people tonight that are watching. I won't be doing this call next week because Ryan and I will be flying down to El Salvador, and we'll be speaking in El Salvador that weekend. 2 weeks from today, I will do the call. And then 3 weeks from today, I won't, because we'll be on our diamond trip. And we'll actually be flying to the diamond trips. Otherwise, I could do it from the boat. But I'm excited to be here. A lot of good things happening. For those that don't know about glutathione, don't feel bad. It's the most important molecule in life. It's just as important as oxygen. Without either one, you'll be dead in a matter of minutes. Everything that lives here on Earth has glutathione. Trees, plants, people, birds, fish, caterpillars, everybody has glutathione and needs it to survive. And yet most people don't know. I was on the phone with a man today that has several 100,000 Medicare patients in his network. It's not an MLM, but it's a health network that provides them with, provides care facilities and stuff like that. I don't know that much about him. I was introduced by a dear friend, and we didn't have time to get into it. They just wanted to hear about what we did. And I asked him, have you ever heard of glutathione? Now, he's 66 years old. He's been in a field adjacent to medicine for decades, and he has never heard of glutathione. Welcome to the world. My son, who is now a practicing heart surgeon, cardiothoracic, so heart and lungs, and when he was in medical school, I saw his microbiology book on his table, and I opened it up, and it had a section on antioxidants, and it had one paragraph on glutathione. It's not known, and yet it's the most studied molecule in medical science. Right now, there's over 196,000 published studies. Another 1,000 are being published about every 2 to 3 months. The reason it's the most studied molecule is because it impacts everything. It impacts every system in your body, the hormonal system, the cardiovascular system, the neurological system, pulmonary, everything. Every tissue is affected by glutathione. Every cell in your body has a glutathione factory. So you right now have 37 trillion glutathione factories, not just existing in a stagnant sort of way, but that are actually operating, that are creating glutathione 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's that vital. It's vital to everything. And yet this man had never heard of it. And I said, how it impacts how you go through your day physically, how you go through your day mentally and emotionally. Do you have the mental energy and focus you need? Do you have the physical energy you need? All of that relates to glutathione. Are you going to get sick the next time you're next to somebody with a cold? If you do get sick, how long are you going to stay sick? How serious will your symptoms be? All of that is related to glutathione. He was blown away. He has never heard of it. And yet he has, I think, a couple 100,000 Medicare. Medicare is our government health system for the over 65 people, my category. I'm on Medicare. You don't have a choice. When you turn 65, you're on Medicare. And so anyway, he was shocked. I started showing him some photographs and some medical things, and he couldn't believe that he had never heard of it in his lifetime. And yet, it impacts every single aspect of his life and of your life. I said right now, without knowing it or feeling it, you have over 200 industrial chemicals in your body that don't belong there. And glutathione is your only hope for getting those out of your body. In fact, we know about, I always tell people, we know that you have 200. In reality, we know that you have 217. You may have 10,000. There's over 80,000 chemicals in our environment, in our water, in our air, in our food. So you may have a lot more, but the CDC, Centers for Disease Control here in the United States, tested, first they tested 2,000 people, not patients, not just sick people, but people from everyday life. And they tested for 143 industrial chemicals. They found out that every single person they tested had all 143. Well, a few years later, they wanted to see how many of these chemicals actually get into your baby's system. So they tested umbilical cords from 2,000 women who delivered babies. And this time they tested for 217 chemicals. And every umbilical cord had every chemical. So I'm real safe saying that if you're breathing right now, you have at least 200 industrial chemicals in your body, chemicals that aren't meant to be there. Your only hope for keeping the levels down and the concentrations down, your only hope is glutathione. Glutathione is the detoxifier of the cell. It has a real sticky sulfhydryl, hydrogen and sulfur molecule that's real sticky. So it sticks to the contaminants and helps control them and get them out of the cell. So he didn't know that. And he's 66. I said, yeah. I said, when you started out in life for your first 20 years, the level of glutathione produced as a cellular protector was at its all-time high. And so as a 20-year-old, you didn't, let people get real sick around you. Chances are you got sick or didn't get sick. And if you did get sick, you survived it. Today you have no better. You've lost 30, or let's see, what did I say? 35%, 20, 30, 40, or let's see, 30, 40, 50, 60, 45% lower glutathione today than you had at the age of 20, but the attack on your cells and the desperate need for glutathione for those 100 or for those 400 functions never goes down. The attacks on your cells actually go up as you age. And I said, so as a result, you have inflammation today, much higher levels of inflammation than you had at the age of 20. And that impacts everything. It impacts your stamina physically. It impacts your mental stamina, your physical endurance, and it affects your performance. And so there was something, he's next door, literally his house is next door to the United States Naval Academy. And his wife called him and said, something's going on at the academy. It's on lockdown. And he heard lots of helicopters flying right over his house and everything. So he had to excuse himself, but we've agreed to talk again tomorrow at what time? 2 o'clock my time, 4 o'clock his time. And he right now he's very, very excited about what he's hearing. And yesterday I was on the phone, on a Zoom, with a clinician who tests pharmaceutical products, does the clinical trials prior to the release of those. And he's done it for most major pharmaceutical companies in the world. And I named a few, and yes, he's done them for those. Well, he saw what we did. I had a chance to show him some of the pictures that we showed to medical people. And he says, I've never seen anything like this. He said, and I've done all sorts of testing in this area, and I can't believe what you've done there, in this area, what you've done there, in this area, what you've done there. And I said, no, now don't get me wrong. We don't do those. Those are pictures that come from doctors and many of their clients that show what they've seen. We haven't taken any of these pictures. And he said, well, I'm just shocked that this exists and I don't know about it. And I said, welcome to our world. Very few people do, which is one reason we need everybody on this call. We need to get the word out, and the best way to do it, and the only way we can do it at this point, is word of mouth. And we do have a professional program in some countries where our Neumi distributors can actually place in case sizes clinics and doctors and spas and so on. And that's a growing program, and we'll ultimately be in all our countries with that. But right now, we're in a handful, and it tests out really, really well. Well, so what is glutathione for those of you that don't know? Let me make sure. Michael, can you see? Do we have new people?
Yes, we do. And we have some watching on social media. So yes, we do.
Okay. Well, So what is glutathione? Glutathione is a tripeptide. That means it's made up of 3 amino acids. 2 are in abundance and 1 is in short supply. The 2 that are in abundance are glycine and glutamic acid. The one that's in short supply is cysteine. So how much glutathione your cells can produce is somewhat limited because they can't get enough cysteine. There's other limitations too, but that's a big one. And so what we've done, your glutathione levels decline as you age, 8 to 15% per decade. At least that's what the studies show. And those are old studies, so it might be even worse now with our environments. But the need for it never declines, as I mentioned. So what does it do? Well, one thing that we first mentioned is detoxification. You see, there was a cancer researcher in Georgia at Emory University, a very well-published, he has over 70 publications, studies that he's done that have been published, named Dr. Dean Jones. And at a cancer symposium years ago, long before I came on the scene, he said, if we want to prevent cancer, we must find ways to increase glutathione levels in the cell. And then he said, let me explain why. He said, 95% of all cancers gain traction in the human body when the mitochondrial DNA in cells is broken. And when that breakage takes place, the cells can mutate and multiply. They have the risk of doing that. And what breaks the mitochondrial DNA is the chemical load in the cell. Glutathione is the detoxifier of the cell. So we have to get more glutathione in the cell, raise glutathione levels so we can lower the toxic load, the chemical load in the cells, and preserve the mitochondrial DNA for a longer period of time. And glutathione is the key to that. I never forgot that quote. I've just quoted him almost verbatim. And the only reason I remember his name, by the way, is I worked with an actor named Dean Jones, who was a television star here in America. And in my past life, I did some work with Dean. So that's how I remember all this. Anyway, so detoxification is one thing you desperately need. The chemical loads today are much greater than they were 20, 30 years ago. The other thing that breaks the mitochondrial DNA is are free radicals. Certain free radicals will actually target the DNA and try to break it and attack the DNA. And there's one big bad boy that we'll talk about in a minute called peroxynitrite that is terrible. But anyway, so glutathione is the detoxifier of the cell. The cysteine portion of glutathione has a sulfhydryl arm that, like I say, it sticks to the chemical. What else does it do? Well, it's pretty important that we get oxygen to all of our cells. If you don't get oxygen to the cells and don't keep those cells oxygenated around the clock, those cells will die, then the tissues die, then the organ dies, and then you die. And so oxygen, obviously, oxygen transport is critical. Well, without glutathione, there's no oxygen transport. You take that nice deep breath, feels good in the lungs, but that's not why you take the breath. You take the breath to get it into your lungs so the capillaries in the lungs can pick up that oxygen and the hemoglobin can deliver it to every cell in the body. Problem is when hemoglobin is manufactured in your body, it has iron molecules. It has iron molecules that are charged at a +3 and some that are charged at +2. Well, it's the +3 that prevents glutathione from binding to oxygen molecules. So the +3 has to be reduced to a +2. When that reduction takes place, then hemoglobin can bind to oxygen and deliver it. Glutathione is the only reduction agent of the iron in hemoglobin. And so without glutathione, there's no oxygen transfer or transport. With glutathione, there is. So that's another function of glutathione. Remember, there's 400 functions. We only have time to go into about 30 of them right now. Actually, that's not true. We're going to just cover a couple more. Glutathione is it's a detoxifier. It is the sole protector, the only protector of our immune system. The immune system is designed to protect you, but what protects the immune system? Glutathione. How does it do that? It protects the reproduction of your T cells and B cells. T cells and B cells are the assassins of viruses and bacteria. So a bacteria or virus comes into your body, it starts to multiply very quickly, and the T cells target it to try to kill it before it can make you too sick or kill you. Problem is the bacteria and virus are reproducing at a rapid rate. And now who's at my door? Somebody's at the door. I think it could be my daughter. I think she's going to go around. If it is my daughter, then my dog's going to go crazy because she absolutely adores my daughter. But anyway, sorry, I got distracted. I saw a figure in the doorway, and I think it's either a neighbor or my daughter. So glutathione, let's see, antioxidant. Okay, protector of the immune system. Nobody with high glutathione levels, it seems, the studies show, nobody with high glutathione levels died in the pandemic. Did they get sick? Yes. But they never went into the cytokine storm, which is what killed people. The cytokine storm is this very rapid inflammation in the lining of the lungs. And that then plays host to pneumonia. And pneumonia was the primary killer. And there was an article in the American Journal of Infectious Diseases, and it was written by a Russian author named Polanov. And the title of the article was something like, Low Levels of Endogenous Glutathione. That means glutathione produced by your cells. Low levels of endogenous glutathione as the cause of severe symptoms and death in COVID-19 patients. And he proved the point. It's the lack of glutathione that allows this inflammation in the cytokine storm to take place at a very rapid rate, and that sets the stage for pneumonia, which was killing people. You say, well, what about cofactors? Well, if you have cofactors, you have low glutathione levels. If you're overweight, you have a lower glutathione levels. If you're past the age of 50 or 60, you have low glutathione levels. If you have any type of disease state, diabetes, pulmonary diseases, or so on, cardiovascular disease, you have lower glutathione levels. If you take pharmaceuticals, you have lower glutathione levels. Why? Because glutathione is what detoxifies the liver from the toxic effects of the pharmaceutical products that carry toxicity. If you've ever heard a commercial on TV for a pharmaceutical, you also heard the disclaimer that tells you all the potential side effects. That's from the toxicity of the drug. And so glutathione is the detoxifier of the cell. It has to go to work on those. Does that mean you shouldn't take pharmaceuticals? Absolutely not. If I get a bacterial infection, I want an antibiotic. Please, as fast as I can get it, give me that Z-Pack, whatever it takes to kill that bacteria. So pharmaceuticals have a place, but they also carry, which is why they're regulated as pharmaceuticals, they carry toxic effects. Glutathione is one of those things. One of the most toxic, you won't believe this, pharmaceuticals is one people think is the safest, and it's acetaminophen or Tylenol. Now, acetaminophen is not just in Tylenol. It's in cold medications. It's in cough medications that are prescription. It's in painkillers. I mean, acetaminophen is way overused, and it's the #1 cause of liver failure in the United States. Over 100,000 emergency liver patients are admitted into U.S. emergency rooms every year, most of them passed out, most of them very, very sick. 20% will die. The 80% that will survive that, the only reason they do is they put in an IV of highly concentrated N-acetylcysteine. And it's the cysteine in that then gets into the bloodstream, gets to the cell, and saves the liver from dying. Problem is, 90% of those that are admitted for that will have permanent liver damage. 80% will have permanent kidney damage. And yet, you can buy acetaminophen, you can buy Tylenol at any pharmaceutical. And I'm not saying you shouldn't. It's good for painkiller. It's good for fevers and stuff. But still beware of how much Tylenol you consume. Tell Tony I said hi, Phoebe. I just saw him walking through the frame. And Phoebe, for those of you that don't know, is one of our dear Neumi family members from the very beginning. In fact, before the beginning of Neumi, she was already involved. And she's there in Perth, Australia. And of course, I see people from New Zealand, and I say that with envy. I'm not supposed to be envious, but I do envy a lot of things about Australia and New Zealand. New Zealand has to be one of the most beautiful countries in the world, which is why it was chosen for what was the J.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings filming was in New Zealand. Okay, so let's keep going. So glutathione is really the cellular protector. Now, why do we want it's best known as your body's master antioxidant. What's an antioxidant? Every cell in your body, Michael, you can show them what 20,000 looks like, is attacked by 20,000 free radicals a day. Here's what 20,000 looks like. That's 20,000 people. So imagine those are all free radicals, and we'll put you on center court, and you'll be the only one there, and they all want to attack you. You don't have much chance of surviving if they get violent. In 5 days, every cell on your body that survives 5 days will be confronted by 100,000 free radicals in that period. Let's show them what 100,000 looks like. There's 100,000 to 1. That's what a cell goes through every 5 days. And you have 37 trillion cells. Your brain, your heart, your kidneys, your pancreas, your liver, every organ, your skin cells, everything is under constant attack. Now, what does a free radical do? It's a scavenger. It wants to steal an electron from the cell, and when it's successful, it creates oxidative stress, too much oxygen for the cell to process, and that oxidative stress accelerates cellular aging, accelerates cell death, and that oxidative stress causes inflammation to form in the cell. Now, imagine if you're going to run a race and you're assigned lane number 3, and the gun goes off and you're in lane number 3, and a big plop of mud from out of nowhere is dropped right in the middle of lane number 3. Guess what? You will not win that race. It's in your way. It's an obstacle that you're not going to get around. unless it's a steeplechase, and then you know how to get through it or over it, around it. And that's what every cell in your body faces every single day. Free radicals win. How can they lose? 20,000 to 1 per day. Well, the way God has made us, he's given us antioxidants that will defend against the free radical, and they'll donate one of their free electrons to the free radical. And when that donation takes place, it captures or sequesters that free radical. So we all know about the antioxidants we consume, like vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin E, CoQ10. You can supplement with superoxide dismutase and catalase. Those are all antioxidants. The problem is there is a spectrum of free radicals. They have different sources, different structures, different chemical compositions. For example, some are sourced from the hydrogen in your body, some are sourced from the oxygen, some are sourced from the nitrogen. And then there are different compositions. Well, here's the problem with antioxidants, is each one is monofocused. So vitamin C can take out that type of free radical, but it leaves all these other guys. Vitamin E can take out that type, CoQ10, superoxide dismutase, catalase. That's a problem because you can't get enough of those. And even when you supplement, even though you're raising the levels, it's not enough. Well, glutathione is called the master antioxidant because it's not monofocused. It can sequester and neutralize all types of free radicals, regardless of their structure, their source, or their chemical composition. It is, to put that in perspective, it's your body's most abundant antioxidant. You can take all the other antioxidants combined, and they will not neutralize and sequester the number of free radicals that a single molecule of glutathione will. So that's one more function. So let's see what we've talked about. Protecting the immune system, critical. By the way, if you have higher levels, your T cells reproduce rapidly in response to bacterial or viral insult. If you have lower levels, they reproduce slowly, and the virus or bacteria wins. Not good. So oxygen transfer, immune protection, detoxification, and now antioxidant protection, protecting the cells from too much oxidative stress, which accelerates their aging, accelerates the onset of cellular death, and increases the amount of inflammation in the cell. Glutathione is your cell's protector. Every tissue, organ in your body is made up of billions of cells, if not trillions in the case of organs. So it's critical for protection. So why don't we all go down and buy glutathione? Your glutathione levels, by the way, decline naturally by 8 to 15% per decade. So let's take 10% drop. I'm 77, which would mean I have less than 40%, 45% of the glutathione today that I had at the age of 20. But the attacks on my cells, the desperate need for glutathione for all their 400 functions, never decreases. So you've got more need, less supply. That deficit opens the gateway to almost every known disease. Heart disease, neurodegenerative diseases, pulmonary diseases, diabetes, kidney disease, liver disease. Low glutathione levels are a primary cause of those. In fact, a very famous doctor here in the United States, he was a Harvard heart surgeon who got his own TV show, and now he's #2 man in our federal health organization or department, is Mehmet Oz. And Dr. Oz made this statement years ago before I got into glutathione. He said, glutathione, it's the most important antioxidant you've never heard of. It's what helps protect you from the diseases you fear the most. So, why is it important that we raise our glutathione levels? One is for protection, and we'll get into that. We've already covered that, detoxification and so on. But the other are the things that you feel. You don't feel your protection of your cells. You don't feel the protection of the immune system. You don't feel the protection of the mitochondrial DNA. None of that is feeling based, but it takes place. And when it doesn't take place, you can become very sick, you can die, you can develop all sorts of problems, and then you do feel it. So if you picture glutathione, its benefit to the body, it would be like an iceberg. 10% above the water, that's what you feel, and 90% is beneath the water, and that's what sinks the Titanic. The Titanic didn't hit the 10% above the water. It hit the 90% under the water where the mass is. And so above the water, we'll talk about that now, are things you can feel when you use our product, when you increase your glutathione availability and utilization at a cellular level. That's what we do. You will feel, you won't get the energy pop of an energy drink, but you'll have what we call stealth energy, energy that doesn't decline as you go through your day. You just feel 100% from the time you do your first serving of glutathione of our product. If you do feel a drop, guess what? You can swish another serving and be right back up. It'll get you through your day. We have a new one that'll start in auto ship during the fourth quarter, and its half-life, we believe, on paper as well as experientially, that it triples the half-life of our glutathione. What do I mean by half-life? Glutathione, no matter how you get it, has a half-life. Some cells, the half-life, where it is only half its potency, is reached in an hour. Some, the half-life is 4 hours. The average for your 37 trillion cells is 90 minutes. Well, we now have an iteration of our product where, because we changed a ratio between cysteine and glutathione, it's tripled the prolonging of the half-life. So it's quite amazing. I get through my whole day. I honestly don't need any more unless if I do some writing between midnight and 2 o'clock, which is when I do most of my writing, when I am writing a book, then I'll go ahead and swish, get more in, be totally mentally focused, and my mind will have everything I need. However, it won't keep me awake when I want to go to sleep. You know why? When I put my head on the pillow, the desperate need of the brain for glutathione declines. And when you're sleeping, your body's need for glutathione is less than when you're active during the day. There is no stimulant in our product. We did a test with the United States Air Force, and we tested with a security team of one of our top level air bases where our frontline fighter, our number one fighter, which is the F-35, is based. And they chose to take 12 members of their security team and do a 4-month test. Why was that important for the military? Because 50% of military personnel in the United States are addicted to energy products, energy pills, and energy drinks. Why is that bad? Because they have tremendous amounts of caffeine and sugar. And what happens, you get an energy boost and then you crash. So you take another one, more energy boost, energy crash. That's very hard on the cardiovascular system, very hard on the neurological system. They end up with a much higher incidence of PTSDs and anxiety disorders. They end up with a higher rate of insomnia, of sleep disorders, all of that from those energy drinks. So the question was, can military people live on this instead of the energy products? And but they did not tell that to the people that were in the test. They didn't say the goal of this is to see if you can get by without. They wanted to see what happened naturally. Well, by the fourth day, all 12 test subjects were off their energy products. They still had their cup of coffee in the morning or cups of coffee, but they never resorted to their energy products. What happened? They performed better. They were more productive. Part of their requirement is that they do workouts, physical workouts, at least 3 times a week, 90-minute workouts. Well, their workouts became more productive. Their endurance workouts, they had more endurance. Their strength workouts, they had more strength. I mean, it was unbelievable. And they recovered much faster. So what was going to initially be a 30-day test, their commander said, can you give us 4 more weeks? Then it was, can you give us 4 more weeks? We ended up going 4 months instead of 1 month because they did not want to get off it. They got off all their energy products. And they were sleeping at night. You see, their duty calls are 12-hour duty calls. So they need the stamina we give them, but they wanted to get to sleep, and they all had a hard time sleeping. So then we duplicated that test with a 4-month test with over-the-road truckers, people that are on the road 8 hours a day, X number of days a week. And they saw the same thing, reduction in use of the energy products, which was great. That's our product. What do we do that's different than everybody else? Well, you can go out and buy glutathione at any health food store. But the problem is once glutathione gets in your stomach, it's such a fragile molecule, it breaks. So to get around that, they surround it with lipids, a liposome. Well, that creates a new problem. Number one, the residual of the liposome might make it into the cell. Number two, it makes the particle size too big to get into the pore of a cell. The pore of a human cell is only 10 nanometers. To put it in perspective, one strand of your hair is 80,000 nanometers in diameter. The pore in the cell is only 10 nanometers. Well, when you wrap a molecule with a lipid, it takes the glutathione molecule from a size of about 1.2 nanometers to somewhere between 55 and 300 nanometers. So it can't get into the cell. You can take all you want. It's not getting into the cell. What happens is it sits on top of the cell, and then various energy forces that confront the cell can force some of it into the cellular membrane. None of it is likely getting into the nucleus of the cell. Some of it will get into the cytoplasm. But the impact is, it's like riding a bicycle up a steep grade in high gear. You'll pedal real fast, you'll move real slow, and you may or may not make it to the top of the hill. That's liposomal glutathione, and some of it is effective for some things. What we've done, instead of surrounding the molecule with a lipid to get it through the stomach, we have surrounded it with water matrices that allow us to keep the particle size under that 10 nanometer mark. We don't talk about how small our size is, and we don't want you to tell people that we're under 10 nanometers, but otherwise we wouldn't get into the nucleus of the cell and we wouldn't see the things we see. Now, we developed this technology. It's called hydrostat. We developed it back in 2018. We started working with it, a little different technology that did something similar back I did in 2016, myself and Dr. Crozier, who's on our medical board. Well, when we got it finished in 2018, I knew if we really had done what we thought we would do, we would radically improve athletic performance. So, Michael, let's go to the Bill Gillespie cell if we could, or the slide. So Bill was strength and conditioning coach for a professional football team, American football, not European football, and the Seattle Seahawks. And his whole life revolved around helping football players to get stronger, faster, maintain their condition, and so on. And but he was an amateur weightlifter. And in 2008, we'll show you where that was, he set the world record as he was 49 years old, and he bench pressed 804 pounds. That's about 340 kilos. And that set a world record. Well, I called him when we developed this in 2018. He's 10 years older. He was 59 instead of 49. And I said, how you doing? He said, not good. He said, I've lost a lot of lean muscle. I used to be able to lift heavy 4 times a week. Now I can only lift heavy once a week. And my bench press is in the toilet. I said, well, how much are you lifting? He says, around 700 pounds. I said, Bill, that's a lot of weight for a 59-year-old. He said, yeah, it's a world record for a 59-year-old, but I don't get to compete with the elite athletes anymore. And so I said, excuse me. I said, I think we can change that. He got on our product. I told him how to use it, and here's what happened. And next slide, please. There we go. Before he turned 60, his bench press went up to 915 pounds. At 60, his bench went to 1,050 pounds. I think that's about 460 kilos. And at 62, this was in 2022, at his retirement meet, the last competitive meet of his life, he successfully benched 1,129 pounds or 512 kilos. That's the weight of a concert grand piano and a bench on top of it. Set a new world record, by the way. Now, people say, how can a person who is older, whose lean muscle is declining, see 30% or 40% improvement? No, it was 30% over his prime 13 years earlier. The answer is the same answer for the rest of your body and the rest of your health. Reduce oxidative stress. When you reduce oxidative stress, you reduce the corresponding inflammation, and that in turn brings about a much higher level of productivity to your cells, and that demonstrated it. One of our athletes in 2018, who was a competitive marathoner and cyclist, was in a 100-mile bike race. At mile 37, she went end over end. She was on our product, but she went end over end. She was breaking all of her records and hit the pavement at about 22 miles an hour, hit it so hard it broke her helmet, knocked her out. She woke up in a hospital, but her face was terrible. If you can imagine the skin hitting the pavement at 23 miles an hour. And the plastic surgeon told her that it's going to take 5 weeks for that to clear. And then you're going to wait 60 days, then you'll come into my office and we'll work out a strategy or a protocol to deal with your scars. Well, she swished while she was in the hospital. She was hospitalized Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and went home Tuesday night. Because she had been swishing, there was already a little bit of change in the skin in her face. But she got home Tuesday night and thought, hey, this stuff is small particle. Maybe if I apply it with a cotton ball to the affected areas, it'll accelerate the clearing. So she poured some on a cotton ball, did it on Tuesday night, then did it 3 times Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. By Sunday, her face was completely clear. Not a mark, not a scar, nothing. The plastic surgeon had never seen anything like it. And I've owned 5 cosmetic companies with my partners, skincare and makeup. And I will tell you that when I saw her before and after, I thought, wow, we may have the world's best skincare products. So I put some in spray bottles, sent them out to a number of women and said, spray your face 4 to 5 times a day for 8 weeks and send me the before and afters. Michael, can you zoom in on this? And this was the very first picture to come back. This is Sherry Warner. I knew her for at least 10 years before this happened. And when I saw the before and after, I was blown away. I'd never seen anything like it. You can look up your favorite cosmetic company, do a search, type in the name of the company, and type behind the name, skincare before and afters. Do your mouse click, and then when it comes up, click on the topic. It has a bar across the top. It'll say videos, images, news, so on. Click on images, and you'll see the before and afters of all your favorite skincare. And guess what? You will have to move in real close to see the change. They may have circled them in red so you can even see a change. You don't have to squint or move up to see this change. I sent this to my former formulator who had become the head formulator for the company that created Botox. And when he saw it, he said, Steve, I hate to tell you, she's had a facelift. I said, no, John, she owns a farm, works the farm, lives on a farm, no scalpel, no laser. She's never had any procedures at all. He said, well, then you've got something the rest of the world doesn't have. I said, you're right. So now we're going to show you some more before and afters, and then we'll call it quits for the night. There's a reason I'm showing you that. This was my hand after spraying my right hand 4 to 5 times a day for 12 weeks. And my left hand, I didn't spray. You can see the radical difference. Nothing else will do that, by the way. Now let's look at some others. This is an 84-year-old. She swished our nutritional supplement. You swish it like a mouthwash, and she sprayed her face. And now she sprayed a lot. She said she sprayed so many times a day she didn't keep count. And but she also swished. And look at that. That's after 4 weeks. Honestly, it took 20 years off of her face. This is another 84-year-old, completely different case. And she said, I had old lady legs. Now I have young lady legs. That's the same leg, by the way. 10 weeks. Next. This gal's younger. She owns her own skincare salon in Miami, Florida. And she said, I can't wait 8 weeks. Look what it's done in 8 days. Where did my pores go? Look how much brighter my face is, how much tighter. Look how it's opened up my eyes. She said, Steve, this is my life as skincare, and there's never anything that I've seen that's even close to that. Okay, let's go next. This is a 60-year-old. And this was after 1 month, and she visited our company when she was 60. I mean, she came to our headquarters, but here's what she looked like. It had been about 6 months. Here we go. There you go. Look at the difference. Now go to the before and after if we can right after this. 60 years old, she looked like she was in her low 40s. All of us were shocked when she told us she was 60. Next. Here's a man who's 67. Now, these are the adjectives you need to write down to describe this. Brighter, because we always brighten the skin. Tighter, smoother, and younger. This man looks like he's a whole new person, and I'm sure that's how he felt. Next. Okay, that problem is hydration. She's not got enough water, but we've also nanosized hyaluronic acid, which holds moisture in. So it's great moisturizer. This is a young girl, but look how it's evened out her skin tones. She's got a peaches and cream. Her pores have minimized in their appearance. And that was pretty amazing. That was only 10 days. Next. She was 80. She's the first picture I showed you. She's her mother. And she was 80 years old at the time. And back in 2018, and that was the difference she saw in 3 weeks. Next. This lady's in her 60s. She was a smoker, so she's got a lot of damage in her skin. And in 8 weeks, it was minimized. Next. Okay, that was in 8 days. That's pretty amazing. Was it 8? Yeah, no, 6 days. This was in 4 weeks. This is in Nigeria, and her daughter's a doctor, gave her the product, and the daughter was just amazed. The daughter sent us the picture. And the melon production, which is what blackens the face, had been radically improved. And glutathione does that. Next. Okay, that was sun damage in Australia. Next. This man's 94. We're down to our second to last picture. And he said, I love the new look, but more than that, I feel like the guy on the right, not the guy on the left. And that's what I love the most. And you can tell. So 94 in 8 months. And then this last lady, I love this lady, 87 years old. And that was in 7 weeks. And we asked her, how often did you spray? She said, I did exactly what you said with the first picture. I sprayed 5 times a day for 7 weeks. Well, that was an amazing result. Okay, why do we show you that? 2 reasons. Number one, we have the world's best skin care. We're going to save you lots of money, and you don't need anything else. You don't need serums. Now, Phoebe says in Australia she needs moisturizer, so some of you might want to add a moisturizer to it, but you're not going to need all the serums and night serums, day serums, and all that stuff. Waste of money compared to this. And I know that. I was in skincare for 30 years because we had these different companies in my old company. And But the other reason we show you is because the same biochemical activity that glutathione is doing in the skin, it's doing it in your brain, your heart, your lungs, your liver, and kidneys, on and on. But we can't show you that. But it's the same glutathione activity that takes place in your skin is taking place in those organs. Okay. We hope you'll join us. Our only way to get to your world is through you. And if you help us, not only do we get to your world, but it multiplies. You'll talk to one person who talks to a person. And before you know it, we had one lady that shared this with one woman in Nebraska. And within a year, she was on every continent because that woman she shared it with built an organization on all 6 continents. We're not in Antarctica, but we're on every other continent. And so don't underestimate how important you are to getting this out to the world. You tell one person who tells a person, and before you know it, it's amazing. Michael, back to you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Steve. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching for the first time today, just know that we do have an official Facebook group where you can see heaps of testimonials like Steve just showed you. So if you scroll down, Neumi New You. Now, if you apply to join this group, you'll need to answer a couple of questions. Who invited you? You can say Steve on this call and then agree to group rules. And in there, you will see all sorts of things. In fact, this is something new that we're doing right now. You can actually see some of the wellness testimonials will actually be circulating on a carousel, so to speak. And you'll see plenty of those. There's plenty of brand new testimonials just went in yesterday. Plus, we have a major drive on sports testimonials at the moment. And so you're going to start to see tools in English, French, German, Greek, Hebrew, Hungarian, Indonesian, Filipino, Tagalog, Polish, Romanian, Russian, Spanish, and even Taiwanese. So keep an eye out for those because they're all coming to you. And Steve has his hand up. So back to Steve.
Yes. One more thing. We recently were certified by a certification group that is honored by the National Football League, Major League Baseball, and the Olympics, and that we are certified drug-free. So now, unlike previously, and we've been in this business for a while, our products, professional footballers, professional baseball team members, they'll all be able to use, athletes will be able to use our product without any fear of any kind of sanction whatsoever. It's a very, very, very big deal. And it's brand new. And it's on our next label run, we will be putting the True Shield logo which means we are certified by True Shield. And so I forgot to bring that up.
Beautiful. Good morning. Good afternoon.